The Texas sun beat down mercilessly, a shimmering, oppressive blanket over the parched landscape. Dust motes danced in the superheated air, hanging heavy over the long, desolate stretch of unpaved road that snaked its way through endless fields of browning scrubland. It was an afternoon designed for respite, for the cool shade of a porch and a tall glass of iced tea, yet a lone figure on horseback was making steady progress through the heat. Suddenly a glint of chrome caught the cowboy's eye. A disabled vehicle, marooned like a forgotten toy at the roadside. As he drew closer, a faint, almost imperceptible movement near the car's open door solidified into a disturbing reality. A young woman, her posture faltering, swayed precariously for a moment before collapsing with a sickening thud onto the unforgiving ground, swallowed by the rising heat haze. This was Luke. His weathered hands, strong from years of honest labor, gripped the reins of his trusty Mustang. Dusty, a creature as reliable and unpretentious as his owner. Luke was a man carved from the very plains he rode, his face etched with the lines of sun and wind, his eyes holding the quiet wisdom of someone deeply connected to the land. He wasn't seeking fame or fortune. His wealth was measured in the health of his herd, the honesty of his word, and the boundless love for his rural existence. He lived a simple, honorable life on a ranch near Austin, a world away from the city's frantic pulse. For Luke, a sunrise over his property, the lowing of cattle, and the companionship of Dusty were all the luxuries he ever truly desired. He embodied a vanishing breed, a man whose values were as deeply rooted as the ancient oaks on his land. The sight of human distress, however, overrode any thought of the oppressive heat or the long ride back to his ranch. Luke's instinct was pure, unadulterated compassion. He spurred Dusty forward, the horse's powerful muscles eating up the distance. Dismounting swiftly, his boots crunching on the dry earth, he approached the inert figure. Her skin was alarmingly pale, and a sheen of sweat coated her forehead despite the dust clinging to her hair. Her purse lay askew nearby, its contents spilling slightly onto the gravel. There was no one else around for miles. The vast, indifferent landscape offered no immediate help. Luke, seeing her vulnerability, felt an immediate, unburdened commitment to assist. He knelt beside her, his large frame casting a brief, welcome shadow over her still form. He checked for a pulse, a faint but steady beat, confirming she was alive, simply incapacitated by the brutal elements. His mind raced, calculating the quickest route to civilization, the nearest medical aid. He knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that he had to get her help, and quickly. Time was of the essence, and the desolate road offered few options. His own pickup truck, parked a few miles away at the edge of his property, was the only viable choice. He gently gathered her into his arms, noting the surprising lightness of her body, and began the careful, deliberate trek back towards where his vehicle waited, the sun beating down relentlessly on his broad back. His resolve was unwavering. He would not leave her. Before we delve deeper into Luke's heroic journey and the unforeseen consequences of his selfless act, remember to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss how this encounter unfolds, as two vastly different worlds are about to collide in the most unexpected way. Luke didn't hesitate for a heartbeat. The woman lay limp, a pale, alarming figure against the sun-baked earth. He scooped her up effortlessly, her surprisingly light form nestled in his arms. His worn pickup truck, an extension of his own rugged practicality, stood ready. He gently placed her in the passenger seat, ensuring her head was supported, then fumbled with the air conditioning, cranking it to full blast. The dust on the dirt road, usually a familiar companion, now blurred into an urgent haze as he sped towards the nearest small-town hospital. Every bump sent a jolt of concern through him, his eyes flicking from the winding road to the unconscious woman. He imagined her as a lost tourist, perhaps unaccustomed to the harsh Texas sun, far from family and familiar faces. His only thought was getting her help, a singular, unselfish focus that consumed him entirely. The journey felt endless, even though the hospital was only a few miles away. The pickup's engine, usually a steady rumble, now seemed to roar with his own mounting anxiety. He pictured the bustling emergency room, the quick, efficient movements of doctors and nurses, a world so far removed from the quiet solitude of his ranch. He wasn't one for crowds or bright lights, preferring the company of Dusty and the sprawling, silent landscape. But this was different. This was about a life, a human being in distress, and Luke's innate sense of responsibility demanded action. He pushed his old truck harder, the tires kicking up plumes of red dust that momentarily obscured the rearview mirror. Finally, the small, unassuming building of the Pecan Creek Community Hospital came into view. It was a modest structure, a stark contrast to the gleaming multi-story medical centers of larger cities, but in this moment, it represented salvation. Luke pulled up to the emergency entrance, the truck skidding slightly on the asphalt. He was out of the vehicle in an instant, gently lifting the woman once more. Her skin felt cool now, which offered a small, fleeting comfort. He pushed through the automatic doors, the sudden chill of the air conditioning a welcome shock against his sun-warmed skin. The emergency room was a whirlwind of hushed activity. Nurses in crisp scrubs moved with a quiet urgency. Luke, holding the unconscious woman, quickly became the center of attention. A nurse with kind eyes rushed forward, her voice calm and professional. "What happened, sir?" she asked, already guiding him towards an empty gurney. "She collapsed by her car, out on the old highway," Luke explained, his voice rough with concern. "Heat stroke, I reckon." He carefully laid her down, his large hands surprisingly gentle. Doctors appeared almost immediately, their questions precise and rapid fire. Luke answered what he could, describing the scene, the broken-down car, the oppressive heat. He watched as they began their assessments, hooking her up to monitors, their faces etched with practiced concentration. The nurses praised him, calling him a hero, their gratitude genuine. "You got here just in time, Cowboy," one remarked, a small smile gracing her lips. Luke, however, felt a profound discomfort with the compliments. He hadn't done anything extraordinary, just what anyone would do. He was a man of action, not accolades. The bright lights, the flurry of unfamiliar faces, the murmuring voices, it all felt overwhelming. He preferred to fade into the background, his work done. As soon as he was sure she was stable, that she was in capable hands, he began to retreat. He mumbled a quick word of thanks to a passing nurse, avoiding eye contact, and then turned to leave. He wanted no recognition, no further involvement beyond ensuring her safety. He simply wanted to return to his quiet life, to the familiar rhythm of his ranch, the silent understanding of Dusty, and the vast, open sky. He slipped out of the emergency room as quickly and quietly as he had entered, a silent guardian disappearing back into the anonymity of the Texas landscape, completely unaware of the storm of revelations about to break. The dust settled quickly behind Luke's retreating pickup, leaving the small-town hospital to its quiet hum. But the sense of calm he sought would remain elusive. Within hours of his departure, a different kind of disturbance began to ripple through the hospital corridors, echoing into the small community beyond. Whispers started hushed at first, then growing louder, carrying an undercurrent of disbelief and excitement. The unknown woman, the silent tourist who had arrived in such dramatic fashion, was anything but ordinary. It began with a nurse, then a doctor, connecting a face to an almost omnipresent name. The patient occupying bed 3 in the emergency ward, the one Luke had so unceremoniously delivered, was Olivia Hayes. The name once uttered spread like wildfire. Olivia Hayes, the Austin tech millionaire. The very same brilliant, enigmatic founder of Nexus Innovations, whose face graced the covers of business magazines and financial news outlets. She was not just a successful entrepreneur. She was a significant, almost mythical figure in the fiercely competitive tech industry, renowned for her audacious vision and cutthroat business acumen. Her company, a powerhouse of digital solutions, had recently been embroiled in a highly publicized, complex legal battle over intellectual property rights, a dispute that had dominated headlines for weeks. This high-stakes conflict had cast a long shadow over her, drawing intense media scrutiny and adding an unexpected layer of danger and vulnerability to her life. Her sudden collapse on a desolate roadside, an event Luke had interpreted as a simple case of heat stroke, was now viewed through a much more complicated lens, tinged with speculation and intrigue. Olivia's world was a whirlwind of power lunches, international flights, board meetings, and relentless pressure, a universe entirely alien to Luke's grounded existence. Her days were meticulously planned, each minute accounted for, every decision carrying immense financial and strategic weight. She navigated a landscape populated by sharp-suited lawyers, ambitious competitors, and a vast personal fortune that seemed to grow exponentially with every innovative product her company launched. The public persona she projected was one of unshakable confidence and formidable intellect, a woman who commanded respect and rarely showed weakness. Yet here she was in a modest rural hospital, her carefully constructed image momentarily shattered by a simple human vulnerability. The contrast between her life and Luke's humble, predictable routine was stark, almost comical. Luke's greatest daily concern might be the health of his horses, the fluctuating price of feed, or the unpredictable weather patterns that governed his crop cycles. Olivia, on the other hand, juggled multi-million-dollar deals, managed thousands of employees, and contended with the constant threat of corporate espionage and market volatility. His world consisted of vast open spaces, hard physical labor, and the quiet camaraderie of a small community. Hers was a concrete jungle of towering skyscrapers, high-speed internet, and ruthless competition, where reputation was currency and privacy a luxury. This revelation, the sudden unveiling of Olivia's true identity, created an almost palpable shift in the town's atmosphere. Luke's selfless act, initially seen as routine small-town heroism, now took on an almost mythic quality. He had unknowingly plucked a titan from her throne, if only for a fleeting moment, and delivered her to safety. This accidental collision of their vastly different realities set the stage for an intriguing, perhaps inevitable, encounter. The universe, it seemed, had a peculiar sense of humor, orchestrating a meeting between a cowboy who valued simplicity above all else and a mogul whose life was defined by dizzying complexity. Their contrasting worlds, once impossibly distant, were now irrevocably linked, poised for a collision that promised to challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves and each other. The quiet hero and the powerful millionaire, their paths now destined to intertwine, setting the scene for an unfolding drama far grander than anyone in that small town could have anticipated. Luke, back in the familiar rhythms of ranch life, found the quiet hum of his tractor a welcome respite from the buzzing speculation that now permeated their small town. The gossip, carried on the dry Texas wind, reached him even in the fields. Everyone knew about Olivia Hayes now. The young woman he'd simply seen as someone in need, a sun-stricken tourist, had transformed overnight into a figure of almost legendary status, a tech millionaire, a titan of industry. His act of kindness, once a simple good deed, had been amplified, dissected, and reinterpreted through the lens of her immense wealth. He heard snippets in the feed store. Can you believe it? Old Luke saving a millionaire. Or at the dusty local diner, where the coffee was always strong and the rumors even stronger. He had no idea, bless his heart, just thought she was some poor girl stranded. Luke felt a strange mixture of pride and discomfort. Pride, because he'd done the right thing regardless of who she was. Discomfort, because the act now felt burdened by its newfound significance. His anonymity, a cherished aspect of his independent existence, had been inadvertently shattered. He wasn't just Luke anymore, he was the cowboy who saved the millionaire. It was a label that didn't quite fit, feeling both too grand and too trivial for the simple human impulse that had guided him. The realization that Olivia Hayes was far from ordinary shifted his perspective. He'd seen her as vulnerable, helpless under the relentless sun. Now he imagined her in boardrooms, commanding respect, making decisions that affected thousands. The dichotomy was jarring. He wondered what her life truly entailed, beyond the headlines and the hushed whispers. His world was tangible, grounded in the earth and the livestock. Hers, he suspected, was abstract, built on code and capital. This unexpected notoriety, this sudden spotlight on his quiet life, felt foreign, almost intrusive. He preferred the silent understanding between man and beast, the predictable cycle of nature, to the unpredictable currents of human fame. Meanwhile, 100 miles away in a pristine hospital suite, Olivia Hayes was slowly piecing together the events of her collapse. Her team, a whirlwind of lawyers, publicists, and personal assistants, had descended upon her, eager to shield her from the media storm and get her back to business. But Olivia's mind kept drifting back to the hazy memory of a strong pair of arms lifting her, the scent of leather and dust, and the rough, reassuring rumble of an engine. She remembered flashes of a kind, weathered face, eyes that held a quiet strength. Her assistants, in their meticulous efforts to gather information, had inadvertently painted a vivid picture of her rescuer. Just some cowboy, Miss Hayes. Luke, they called him, left before anyone could properly thank him. Drove an old pickup, apparently. The details were sparse, yet they fueled a growing curiosity within her. In her world, every action had a motive, every kindness a hidden agenda. But this cowboy Luke had simply helped and disappeared, seeking no reward, no recognition. It was an anomaly, a pure, selfless act that stood out starkly against the transactional nature of her everyday life. Olivia found herself poring over the limited news articles, trying to glean more about this mysterious Luke. She saw the subtle way the small-town newspaper described his actions, not as heroic, but as simply doing the right thing. This understated heroism captivated her. She was accustomed to fawning praise or vicious criticism. This genuine, unadorned decency was refreshingly different. A desire, initially a faint whisper, began to grow into a clear intention. She needed to find him. She needed to thank him, not with a check or a press release, but genuinely face to face. Fate, or perhaps the sheer will of a woman accustomed to getting what she wanted, was already at play. Two disparate lives, separated by wealth and lifestyle, but connected by a single selfless act, were now inexorably drawn back towards each other. The quiet cowboy and the powerful millionaire, their worlds on a collision course, poised to redefine what they understood about connection, gratitude, and the unexpected intersections of life. Their impending reunion promised to be more than just a formal thank you. It was destined to be a transformative encounter, challenging their individual perspectives and perhaps irrevocably altering their futures. The air crackled with an almost tangible tension as Luke and Olivia finally met again. Not in the sterile, unfamiliar confines of a hospital, but in the bustling, polished foyer of a high-end Austin restaurant. Olivia, impeccably dressed in a silk pantsuit that probably cost more than Luke's truck, extended a perfectly manicured hand. Luke, uncomfortable in his only good jeans and a freshly ironed button-down shirt, felt a tremor of awkwardness. Their worlds, previously held apart by miles and societal strata, had undeniably collided, and the impact was immediate, a subtle yet profound dissonance that resonated between them. Olivia's initial attempts at gratitude felt, to Luke, like transactions. She spoke of recompense, of wanting to ensure he was adequately compensated for his troubles, for the lost time, for the wear and tear on his vehicle. He saw the genuine appreciation in her eyes, but the language she used, the underlying assumption that every good deed had a monetary value, struck a discordant note. He had acted out of instinct, out of a simple human desire to help someone in distress, not for a reward. Her offers felt less like thanks and more like a veiled attempt to erase an uncomfortable debt, to put a price on an act he considered priceless. He shifted uneasily, his rough hands feeling out of place in the elegant setting, his mind struggling to reconcile her evident sincerity with the stark materialism of her approach. Conversely, Olivia found Luke's steadfast refusal of any form of material acknowledgement baffling. In her world, every favor had its cost, every service its fee. His selflessness was an anomaly, a variable she couldn't quite account for with her established mental models. She observed his quiet dignity, the way his gaze held a steady, unwavering sincerity, and a flicker of something she hadn't encountered often in her competitive environment: genuine humility. She tried to imagine his life, the vast open spaces, the physical demands, the rhythms of nature guiding his days, and it felt utterly foreign, almost romanticized, yet undeniably real. The pressures she faced, the constant fight for market share, the ruthless negotiations, seemed distant, almost trivial, when she looked at the calm, unburdened expression in his eyes. Their initial conversations were a clumsy dance around misunderstandings. Olivia, sharing anecdotes about her global business ventures, her private jet, or her latest philanthropic endeavors, inadvertently painted a picture of excess that made Luke's simple ranch life seem almost prehistoric. Luke, in turn, tried to articulate the satisfaction of a good harvest, the quiet joy of a clear night sky full of stars, or the fierce loyalty of a well-trained working dog, concepts that seemed to sail over Olivia's head, lost in the abstract beauty rather than the tangible application. There were moments of quiet frustration, of mutual incomprehension, an almost comical gulf between their lived realities. Yet, through the awkward pauses and the occasional cultural missteps, an unexpected connection began to emerge, a delicate thread weaving itself between their disparate experiences. Olivia was captivated by Luke's authenticity, his unvarnished honesty, a stark contrast to the polished facades she encountered daily. He didn't filter his thoughts or opinions, and his quiet strength resonated with a part of her that had long yearned for something real and uncomplicated. She saw past the rugged exterior to a man of profound integrity and simple yet powerful convictions. Luke, in turn, found himself drawn to Olivia's sharp intellect, her fierce drive, and the surprising vulnerability that occasionally flickered beneath her polished exterior. He saw the weight of her responsibilities, the genuine passion she held for her work, and the quiet loneliness that often accompanies immense success. He began to perceive her not just as a millionaire, but as a person, grappling with her own unique set of challenges, pressures, and expectations. Their initial judgments, born of vastly different upbringings, slowly began to soften, replaced by a mutual respect and an undeniable growing curiosity about the other's world. They recognized in each other a certain indomitable spirit, a strength of character that transcended their respective environments. The polite distance began to shrink, making way for a tentative yet powerful human connection. Their initial encounters, marked by an awkward dance of differing societal norms and expectations, slowly began to soften, paving the way for a deeper, more meaningful connection. Luke, in his quiet, unassuming way, started to introduce Olivia to his world, a world so far removed from her own that it felt almost like a different planet. He took her on evening rides across his sprawling ranch, Dusty's rhythmic hooves, a soothing counterpoint to the chirping crickets, the vast Texas sky ablaze with stars. He showed her the painstaking process of mending fences, the satisfaction of a hard day's work, and the profound connection he felt to the land. Olivia, often dressed in designer clothes that looked out of place against the rustic backdrop, listened intently, observing everything with a curious, almost childlike wonder. She found an unexpected peace in the vastness, a quietude that her high-octane life rarely afforded. The genuine smiles, the hearty laughter shared around a crackling bonfire with Luke's ranch hands, felt more authentic, more real than any board meeting she'd ever attended. She saw a fierce independence in Luke, an integrity that transcended material wealth, and a profound respect for the natural world that resonated deeply within her. It was a world of tangible realities, of sunrises and sunsets, of planting and harvesting, quite a stark relief from the abstract digital realm she usually inhabited. In turn, Olivia, with a gentle persistence, began to offer Luke a glimpse into her own complex universe. She didn't try to dazzle him with opulence, but rather to illuminate the intricate dance of innovation, ambition, and responsibility that defined her professional life. Over cups of strong coffee in his rustic kitchen, she explained the intricacies of her latest tech ventures, the challenges of leading a global company, and the constant pressure to stay ahead of the curve. She spoke of the thrill of creating something new, of solving problems on a massive scale, and the satisfaction of seeing her ideas change the way people lived. Luke, initially bewildered by the jargon and the sheer scope of her operations, found himself captivated by her passion and intellect. He saw a fierce determination in her, a sharp mind at work, and began to understand that her world, though vastly different, also demanded courage, grit, and an unwavering commitment, much like his own. He realized that her ambition wasn't purely about money, but about impact, about shaping the future, a concept that slowly started to intrigue him. She opened his eyes to a world of possibilities he never knew existed, subtly challenging his preconceived notions of success and influence. However, their burgeoning relationship, a fragile blossom in the harsh light of public scrutiny, was not without its trials. The media, ever hungry for a sensational story, latched onto Olivia's cowboy savior with relentless fervor. Paparazzi, a species Luke had only ever seen on television, suddenly descended upon his once peaceful ranch, their long lenses probing, their questions intrusive. Olivia, accustomed to the glare, did her best to shield Luke from the worst of it, but the invasion of privacy was a jarring shock to his quiet life. Simultaneously, whispers of skepticism circulated within Luke's close-knit community. Some found it hard to believe that a woman of Olivia's stature could genuinely be interested in a simple rancher, suspecting ulterior motives or a temporary dalliance. They questioned her sincerity, her intentions, and expressed quiet concerns about Luke getting caught up in a world too complex for him. These external pressures threatened to pull them apart, to extinguish the spark before it truly had a chance to ignite. Yet through it all, they clung to the nascent trust and understanding they were building, realizing that navigating these obstacles together was the only way their unlikely connection could possibly survive. They were learning, often through trial and error, to communicate across the vast cultural chasm that separated them, finding common ground in shared values of honesty, hard work, and a surprising mutual respect. This journey was proving to be far more profound than either of them could have ever anticipated. The true test of their bond arrived not in a flash of paparazzi bulbs, but with the sudden, insidious threat to Luke's ranch. A powerful, unscrupulous land developer, sensing an opportunity to acquire vast tracts of land for a new commercial venture, began aggressively pursuing nearby properties, employing shady tactics and legal maneuvers to push out smaller landowners. Luke's acreage, strategically located, became a prime target. The developer's initial veiled threats soon escalated into outright intimidation, jeopardizing not just Luke's livelihood, but generations of his family's legacy. It was a crisis that struck at the very heart of his world, and for the first time, Luke felt a profound sense of helplessness. Olivia, witnessing his quiet desperation, recognized a fight that required more than just physical strength. This was a battle of information, of legal strategy, of resources she possessed in abundance. She saw the unwavering integrity in Luke, the deep roots he had in his land, and realized that protecting him was synonymous with protecting a piece of the authentic world she'd come to cherish. Drawing upon her vast network of contacts, her sharp business acumen, and her formidable legal team, Olivia launched a counteroffensive. She meticulously exposed the developer's coercive practices, rallied support from local environmental groups, and used her platform to bring media attention to the injustice, turning the tables with a decisive, calculated precision that left the developer reeling. Luke watched in awe as Olivia, not with brute force, but with intellect and strategic power, fought for his home, for their shared sense of justice. It was a revelation for him, a profound understanding of how her world, when wielded with ethical intent, could be a force for good. Through this crucible, they discovered profound changes within themselves. Luke, emboldened by Olivia's unwavering belief in him, found a newfound confidence. He learned to articulate his values, to stand firm against external pressures, and to embrace the positive aspects of the spotlight that Olivia's presence brought. He realized that his quiet strength was not a weakness, but a foundation upon which a larger, more impactful life could be built. He learned to trust not just Olivia, but also his own capacity to navigate complexities beyond the ranch. Olivia, in turn, gained a deeper understanding of genuine connection and priorities that extended far beyond the boardrooms and balance sheets. The simple rhythms of Luke's life, the unwavering loyalty of his friends, and the raw beauty of the natural world had grounded her in a way her relentless pursuit of success never could. She understood that true wealth wasn't measured in digits, but in the richness of human relationships, the resilience of the spirit, and the quiet satisfaction of a life lived authentically. Her ambition remained, but it was now tempered with a profound sense of purpose, a desire to create a world where ingenuity served humanity, not just profit. Their story culminated not in a dramatic wedding, nor a grand declaration, but in a quiet, shared understanding that their lives, once so disparate, were now inextricably intertwined. Olivia continued to helm her technological empire, but her vision had expanded, incorporating sustainable practices and community initiatives inspired by Luke's world. Luke, with renewed vigor and Olivia's quiet support, diversified his ranch, creating a sustainable agricultural model that became an example for others. Their journey was a powerful testament to the unexpected places love and understanding can bloom, transcending societal boundaries and material wealth. Their encounter fundamentally altered their lives, leaving a lasting impact that rippled beyond their immediate sphere, inspiring others to look beyond superficial differences and embrace the profound, transformative power of genuine connection. It was a story that proved true wealth lay not in what one possessed, but in the richness of a shared life, a testament to the extraordinary possibilities that arise when two different worlds collide and choose to build something beautiful together. If you enjoyed this captivating tale of unexpected love and transformation, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more compelling